So a couple of the comments here were, if if you can't do these things with your dogs. One was, if you want the most bored, maladjusted dog, this list is great. Just shove your dog in a crate and never let it be a freaking dog. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
So that was one, and the other one is similar, so I just want to read it to you. It said that basically, if you can't, she said, I'd rather be euthanized than shoved in a cage with no stimulation or affection for the rest of my life.
Well,
and so that's...
Yeah, well, I think they just don't understand what I'm saying. Okay, I don't think that they think that we're saying put a dog in a cage.
Mm-hmm.
That's just an emotional response. But that is not what I'm saying. I'm talking about the very opposite. I'm talking about freeing that dog.
Right.
Okay. But I'm not saying free the dog to put him back in a situation that actually got him in the shelter to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you had known better, you would have done better. Every dog that we see that's an older dog was once a puppy who didn't have this problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And so somehow this problem developed. And if you talk to this person and they say, I've never done anything abusive to my dog, I've never mistreated my dog, I've only done wonderful positive things, but my dog is an asshole. He learned it somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You have only to think of a child that was born with the so-called silver spoon in his mouth, that is spoiled,
Mm-hmm.
that is now a teenager, okay? And now you want to reach him and say you can no longer do those things that you did to get you where you are today,
Mm-hmm.
right? How are you going to reach that kid? That's a very difficult thing.
Right.
Most people don't know how to do that. And so when I look at dogs that come in, I look at them as those teenagers.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it's my job to reach them and say, hey, man, you've been lied to all your life. You were tricked to get into this shelter. You were tricked, bamboozled. Okay? You're here, and you're paying for a crime that you didn't have to commit. So let's go back in time. Let's start over.
Mm-hmm.
Let me teach you how to get your thing in order. You know, teach you how to judge your level of aggression. And you can do that with dogs. You're dealing with two hormones. You're dealing with the cortisol level and the hippocampus. The hippocampus is responsible for the long-term memory. The cortisol level is what gets us in trouble. The hippocampus job, when it rises underneath the cortisol, the purpose of the hippocampus is to bring down the cortisol level. Okay? It's responsible for the long-term memory. If you don't know how to control a dog hormonally, and your only go-to is training, which is a physical thing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we think that if we can make our dog sit down, heel, and stay, which is a physical thing, that somehow the mind is going to follow. And I'm saying no. You have to control the mind so that the body follows. If a dog is in an aggressive state of mind, and that is the highest emotional state for most dogs, and you're asking him to sit and stay, the hormonal state that that dog is in is greater than the one that you're asking for, so he cannot comply.
And all of these, with problem dogs, these no-no things create that.
Exactly. You're dealing with genetic behaviors and learned behaviors. A dog may have a genetic predisposition to be this or that.
Mm-hmm.
What the problem is that the human being taps into that energy, thinking that if I tap into it and I feed it, that it's going to go away. But no, you're feeding it.
Right.
You see?
Well, and then the other thing is, so what about if you're playing with one dog?
Mm-hmm.
Because someone mentioned this in the comments. Is it okay to play with one dog? Like I have a dog that I used to think this was okay with also. She's neurotic about balls and rocks.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought as long as I'm not throwing it and she's not chewing on toys and she's sitting there with the ball in her mouth,
Mm-hmm.
it'll be okay.
Okay.
But what I learned from that is that from you,
Mm-hmm.
that she is still taking out her neurosis and her stress with her mouth. So when
Yeah.
a stressful situation came up, that was her go-to.
We
Is
have, right. We have not been taught how to look at our dogs from an emotional state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
We've only been taught how to look at them from a training concept. Okay? We think that, oh, your dog is doing this or that, let's train him to sit, stay, come, heel, which has nothing to do with the behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So if your dog is doing something neurotic, we have to understand that there's something going on there,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And how to approach that. You see? But we've never been taught that.
Right.
We've never been taught that we can tell our dogs that they don't need to have separation inside.
Mm-hmm.
We've never been taught that. We don't even know what it is. We don't know where it came from, you know, or how we got here. Usually I'll ask people to say, all of a sudden one day it just, no, it's been happening a long time ago, but you don't look at it from the dog's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You look at it from your perspective. You see?
Right. So if you have a lone dog doing its lone thing,
Mm-hmm.
you don't think you're building towards something, and then all of a sudden you put another dog in the circumstance
Yes.
or the situation in that environment,
Yeah.
like what happened with two of my dogs. Then they ended up in a fight
Of course.
because the one I'd been letting her nurture that neurosis.
When they get into fights, somehow, some way, someone is misinterpreting what's really going on.
But it had also been building, and I didn't realize it
Oh,
could build.
yes.
So I thought it happened in a moment. What happened?
Yeah, everyone says that. All of a sudden, one day.
Mm-hmm.
And then we find out this took place years ago. It just came to an head.
Right.
Happens all the time.
And I never thought I would have to deal with it because it never showed up in my life.
You know, we talk to our dogs like they're kids. We speak to them like they're, you know, university graduates. Okay? And and even though we do that, the things that we do with them is on such an elementary level
Mm-hmm.
that never the two will meet. We need a new way of thinking if we're going to save the dog's life.
So can we sign off with what I think part of the misconception of the post was that there's all these no-nos and now I can't do these things with my dog because these are going to happen.
Mhm.
And so therefore I am now separated from my dog, from bonding with them, from giving them enrichment, from spending time with them.
Mhm.
And I want, and you know, it's very clear that that is not what you're saying.
No, it's
Right,
not.
so-
It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, you know, a lot of times for people to reset their life,
Mm-hmm.
they have to become quiet. They have to focus and calm down a bit
Mm-hmm.
and realize that most things in life that they're tripping on is not real. It's fear.
Mm-hmm.
Fear's in the future. Most people are afraid of something that hasn't even happened.
Mm-hmm.
You got to give that up, okay? And just sit back and relax. Sometimes we need to just do that with our dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Don't introduce all of these things that society told you to give your dog without you even really understanding what it means to the dog.
Mm-hmm.
You see? That's why I'm here, to help people to understand that your dog is happy being with you.
Right.
You know, hear the concept of just being.
Mm-hmm.
What? That's the dog.
There's a book called Guardians of Being,
Really.
and it talks about the animals. It's Eckhart Tolle and the guy who does Mutts, the cartoon Mutts, and they
Okay.
came together and wrote a book called Guardians of Being.
Yeah.
And it talks about that. I want to give my friend something. I want to do something for my friend. The guy wants to do
Yeah.
something with his dog. And then finally he gave him the gift of nothing, which was they just end up hanging out on a hillside looking
There
at the
you go.
stars.
Can you exist in the moment with your dog, you know, without projecting a thought that is empty, you know, that requires for them to act,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Can you just be with them?
Right.
That's the beginning. So the reason I tell people not to do these things, it's a shocker,
Mm-hmm.
and it leaves them empty.
Right.
Because from an empty container, we now can begin to fill it up. But first we need to empty it.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get rid of all of that and start over new. I don't want you to take what I'm saying and incorporate that with your training and thinking that you're going to get a better dog. You need to understand that what you're doing, people have been doing since the beginning of time.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was going to work for aggressive dogs, then why isn't it working? So the definition of insanity, we need to know that.
Mm-hmm.
Empty your box. There's nothing there. Sure, you're going to feel insecure. You're going to feel hopeless.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to feel like this is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how it is in life. You've got to empty your box and start all over again. You've got to let go all of the things that you thought were important and significant in your life. And then you realize that none of that was important.
Mm-hmm.
And the important thing is that you were confident and comfortable with yourself. That's what your dog is going to connect onto, because that's what they're looking for.
Right, because that's where they live.
Yeah, they're looking for the truth. I can't tell you how many people have walked in here and over the years have lied to their dog. And their dog looks at them directly in the eye and they want to know the truth. And we can't help but lie to them, because we're projecting all of the thoughts that we think that they're probably thinking, that somehow they didn't know what they were thinking, and now we're going to give it to them. That's ego.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't allow for the dog to open. We don't allow for the dog to be calm and peaceful, like we need to be calm and peaceful, because we spend so much time raising the cortisol level and the adrenaline level within the dog, so that they're now not thinking the things that they should be thinking, and they're thinking the things that we're creating. It's a job, but it can be done if you're present. It can be done. I didn't wake up one day and say, "Oh, I'm going to work with aggression." It didn't happen that way. Who does that? Who says I want to take a chance of being bit?
Mm-hmm.
Your knowledge has to be deeper than training. Okay? We have to humanize our dogs because we're human. So for people to say, "Oh, don't humanize dogs," no, that's not logical. But the psychology of humanizing has to be way deeper than what we're practicing in harm. You see? And then you will see the beauty in the dog, because they will catch on to that. When we become present, we become real, that is what they're looking for.
They sense it too, immediately.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But no one has ever taught us how to do that. We're having a difficult time trying to do that with ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay? But it can be done. You know, I can get dogs in here and make changes within a matter of hours.
Right.
Sometimes quicker than that.
Right.
And I'm doing it very quickly just to show the person what can be done.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And if it can be done in a couple of hours, what you or someone else has been trying to do for years, you have to think about that. You have to look at that. You have to open your mind and say, you know, okay, my box is empty and I'm ready to fill it up with something different.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And I'm ready to do away with my ego, because it's all ego, you know? In order to be present, you know, you have to let that go. It's not that you can get rid of an ego. That's impossible. But to understand that you have it and that it is interfering is enough to control it. Okay? And that's what we're going to have to do. It's going to be a little uncomfortable. Every time I take a dog in the back, every time I put dogs together, when you see videos and you see a fight that may take place or a fight that takes place, I'm a little uncomfortable. Okay? Because I don't want anything to happen to them.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm intelligent enough to know that they have to go through that.
Right.
Human beings have to go through problems in their life in order to come out balanced. I mean, you know, people say life is wonderful. I never went through any problems. Come on. You know, you got to go through problems in life. Every powerful or successful person has gone through problems in life. And so they're able to reflect back, you know, and say, okay, I'm not going to make that mistake again, or I'm going to learn from that mistake. You know, dogs can reflect back too. You know, they can experience a situation that made them aggressive or that made them fearful. And then we can go back in time and recreate that and then help them through that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I call this rehabilitation.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I do here. And I do it every day. And I have a group of dogs that I save their lives to help me. I have therapy dogs. That's their job now.
Mm-hmm.
I have dogs that when dogs attack, they don't attack.
Mm-hmm.
But before they got here, they were the ones attacking.
Right. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And that you know them well enough to manage it.
Yeah,
You know,
because I exist in the moment with them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's easy. Because if it's easy, everyone would be doing it. But it requires that we become present. Every day we become present, you know. And it's important for me to be that way when I'm bringing new dogs. They force me to be present. That's why I say dogs are like a roadmap for us back to a wonderful life, because it keeps us present.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing more wonderful than doing what I do for a living, because it keeps me present and I get a chance to save a life. I am a boy, as a man now, living the life with animals. To me, there's nothing more wonderful than that. There are problems, just like with any job, but the end result is that you're saving a life. I can't think of anything more rewarding than saving a life, you know. And it's not just saving a life in that, wow, I thought that, you know, I was going to be depressed for one more day. No, it's literally saving a life, a dog from being destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And am I able to save them all? No, because the people aren't ready. The people aren't ready, you know. The people aren't present. I've never met a dog that I wasn't able to reach, but I have met people who were not willing to do the work because they're not present enough. They've got too many things going on in their life to think about this dog. But this dog is a mountain in their life, right? They don't give the dog up, but they don't do what it takes to fix the dog. Mm-hmm. That's just like being in a relationship that's not good. You don't leave the relationship, okay? Because you have to deal with the effects of that.
Mm-hmm.
And you stay in the relationship and you keep spiraling down, you know? So, to the people who may think that what I'm saying is wrong, I think they just don't understand where I'm coming from. It's so different. No one has ever said this before that I know of. You know, this big toy concept, it has never been challenged. Training has never been challenged. And so we accepted it, hook, line, and sinker, okay? But I'm offering something to compare to training, to give you a choice. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm giving is a choice. If you're not having problems, you don't need me. If you're having problems and you can't get help over here, then if you're able to turn this way and focus in this direction, you may get some help. Mm-hmm. You may get some help.
So in closing, do you want to say anything else, or I think you just covered it?
Yeah, I think, there's plenty to say.
Right.
There's plenty to say, and I hope that we can keep this dialogue open, you know, with people, because there's so much information. We can't even imagine the amount of information that I can't even give here because people are not ready for it. I live this thing day in and day out. To can't see in the morning, to can't see at night, 24/7. Mm-hmm. Okay? So, for all these years, I got to be seeing something. There's something that I'm seeing, mm-hmm. and I'm willing to share it with people, you know, for those who want to listen. I didn't get into this business to force people to do what I'm doing or to believe me. That wasn't the reason. I got into this business because I wanted to help dogs, and I love dogs. I wanted to understand dogs. And in my will and desire to understand them, actually allowed for me to dive deeper into the abyss, into the unknown, whether I wanted to or not. It forced me to, because it was coming at me all the time. And so I began to become comfortable with it. After a while, you do something enough, you get over those feelings, and you begin to see something totally different. You see the light, you see the matrix, And then if you're quiet enough and you can focus long enough, you can see deeper. And this is what happens, But you got to work at it.